Make sure to check out my Kofi account, link down in the description. And check out my other series, Modern Classics and TV Treasures.
His name is Henry. He's all about those classics. Dust off the old ones. And
Can't be done, I tell you. Can't be done.
He finds some goodies. And finds you some baddies. And reviews ones. Folks from forgot. His name is Henry. He's a girl with a mustache. 20th century reviews are here. 20th century reviews are here.
Hello, I'm Henry R. Mockingbird, your host with the mustache, and happy Veterans Day. Today, we are going to review a Wheeler and Woolsey movie. Who is Wheeler and Woolsey? Well, I'll tell you. While the Marx Brothers are seen as comedy legends today, back then their humor was seen as too sophisticated, and their movies did not rank in that much change. The big box office draws back then were Wheeler and Woolsey, a comedy duo with a simple bag of tricks and attention to spew out wheezy dialogue that only a mother could love. Woolsey was the fast talker of the two, wore glasses and smoked a cigar, and had attention for making wisecracks. Kind of like Groucho Marx, while Wheeler, on the other hand, was the baby-face romantic innocent of the two. Both of them started out as comic relief for musicals, one of them being Rio Rita, a movie I reviewed once upon a time.
Great vacation and a darn good time. We're all pals together, comrades, birds of a feather, rootin' pals, tootin' pals, scootin' pals, shootin' pals, in rain or sunshine, pals say they're brother, soul for each other. When you roll, you're on, you're not alone, but when you belong to the Lone Star
Get there! But they would later branch out and do their own movies. And I know what you're thinking. Why are these two not talked about that much? Well,
There's a good reason.
that's because Woolsey passed away in 1938. So Wheeler and Woolsey never got the chance to become big names in comedy like Abbott and Costello or Laurel and Hardy. Wheeler tried to make a name for himself without Woolsey, and he figured out that
Can't be done, I tell you. Can't be done.
today's Veterans Day review will be on the film Half Shot at Sunrise. So, let's get started. In World War I Paris, the MPES are tracking down a couple of AWOL doughboys posing as officers, played by Wheeler and Woolsey. Wheeler falls in love with the colonel's daughter and starts fooling with her. So, what do I think of this film? Well, I like it. Granted, the only other thing I've seen Wheeler and Woolsey in was Rio Rita, and I thought they were pretty good in that, and they're pretty good here, as is this movie. This was Wheeler and Woolsey's second time in the spotlight after being comic relief for a while. And this film was directed by Paul Sloan, who directed their first outing with them in the spotlight, Cuckoos. The film's screenplay was even helmed by another forgotten clown of golden era cinema, Fatty Roscoe Arbuckle, who wrote the script for this movie. Fatty Arbuckle was partners with and was a huge influence on people like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. And he made some of his own short films, some of them even co-starring alongside Buster Keaton. And he had the record for being the first celebrity to have a custom-made car after him. I would say more, but Hats Off Entertainment already did a video on him. Check it out, link in the description. And this film marks the debut of Max Steiner, who would go on to do such iconic scores like King Kong, Casablanca, and Gone with the Wind. As stated in the summary, Wheeler and Woolsey played two doughboys masquerading around as different officers. And why do they do this? To pick up chicks. Of course, why the hell not? Both Wheeler and Woolsey are hilarious in this movie and have great comedic chemistry and bounce off each other really well. Their characters' names in the movie are Tommy and Gilbert, who are constantly running away from these two officers. So quite a variety of jokes that these two have, like Wheeler putting a bucket on his head, or during the nightclub scene where we get a pretty good dance. And during that scene, Wheeler and Woolsey hide in the kitchen to get away from these two officers, only to come out dressed up as waiters. And we get some pretty funny dialogue between them, mostly revolving around food. One of my favorites was when Edna asks for a young chicken and Woolsey suggests having an egg. Another funny scene is when he's dancing in a fountain with nothing but his undershirt and underwear. While Wheeler is hiding from the two officers, he runs into Annette, the Colonel's daughter, played by Dorothy Lee, who is a regular in the Wheeler and Woolsey films, and as for usual, they become an item and they start singing. And is it just me, or does them singing sound like Betty Boop and Bimbo?
When you are on duty, marching all around, I can hear you pass by my door. Precious little beauty, you'll be safe and sound, guarded as you never were before. When your footsteps die away, maybe I'll get home. Last night I cry away. Tell me what you do. When you get blue, just whistle for me, dear. I'll promise you I will never fail to hear. Then I'll pretend it's just a little bird. I'll find my sweetie without another word.
Any rang?
What's that?
Any rang?
Oh, no.
And just like Rio Rita, we get a really weird dance scene between Dorothy Lee and Wheeler. Only this time, Woolsey comes into this dance. And next up, we have the Colonel's wife, who I mentioned earlier, Mrs. Marshall, played by Edna Mae Oliver. And as for usual of anything she's in, she is a pure delight. Long-time viewers of my work might know her as the Red Queen from Alice in Wonderland 1933, Lady Catherine of Pride and Prejudice of 1940, and Mrs. Withers of the Murder Trilogy, which I already reviewed the first movie in that trilogy, Penguin Pool Murderer, which gave us this gem.
Young man, have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror?
Sure, have you?
I was in hopes you wouldn't bring that up.
And she's been caricatured in a lot of cartoons. I did have a problem with this movie is that there isn't really much in the way of a plot, like until the end where they have to send a message to one of the colonels. And for most of the movie, they're pretty much running around doing silly stuff and trying to avoid the officers who want to turn them in. It's the same issue I had with another film, a Marx Brothers film, in fact, that being Monkey Business, where there wasn't really much in the way of a plot with that movie until the very end. It was mostly an excuse for the comedians just to do some funny stuff. That there really isn't that many problems I have with this movie, or that film for that matter. I say if you're new to Wheeler and Woolsey, which I'm guessing you are, I say check this film out, or if you just want a good laugh, 5 gold stars. Pretty much all I have to say about Half Shot.